Hi, my name is Amber Graves, and I believe that Jesus is my testimony. He has brought me through things that I never thought that I was going to get through, and brought me to a place that I never thought that I could ever be, or dreamed, or imagined. I was raised an only child. I have two half brothers that are younger than me with my dad, and there was just emotional trauma due to substance use, drugs, alcohol, and just the way of the world. And church was a little bit in my life when I was a kid, but it was because I had an aunt that would take me to church. So I knew just a little bit. Jesus loves me, and that lasted for a brief moment. So we moved, and it was, again, just me and my dad, and he worked second shift. I started drinking at 13, smoking marijuana at 14, and using meth at 15. And basically I felt like I was by myself. Moved to a new town, so I was trying to fit in and try to cope with life and friends. And there was a death a little bit after the meth use that caused me to cycle where I couldn't get out of bed and pushed me further into a toxic relationship and drugs, hardcore, to where I didn't graduate high school. I ended up kind of getting sober for a little bit and got my GED, went back to college, and then got with my now ex-husband. But we had some really great times. Was the love of my life. We had a child, but still no Jesus. And just the things that I knew from when I was in Sunday school. And the things that you hear on the Ten Commandments from the shows you watched, Moses parting the Red Seas. So that was my arrow pointing me north. So not a lot of things, but it was enough. So years of emotional trauma off and on had caused me to self-medicate. And I did the best that I could do, but it led to an unhealthy marriage and divorce, which led to homelessness in the end. I didn't deal with the fact that I wasn't with my family anymore. And so I stayed with a relative and was drinking every day and using drugs when I could. And it just was a horrible, dark mess. The Lord said that was my lost time, and I call it my darkest time because I just didn't know where to go or what to do. And I knew that I needed a church and I needed recovery, swirling around the darkness of addiction and despair. And it seemed hopeless and confusing. And then I was no longer at my dad's. He couldn't handle the situation and ended up sleeping on the streets and on couches and without my son. So right before his 6th birthday. And it took about 2 years, and I ended up in a violence shelter, which was a blessing. I was so happy. I ended up going to jail for a possession charge that I had. And I had about 3 possession charges, a few felonies, and could barely make it to court because didn't know when my court date was. And the lawyer, the communication was just off. I had no vehicle, I had no belongings, I had no nothing. So I had lost it all. And being at the violence shelter was a blessing because then I could go to court and I had a safe place. I started treatment. And it seemed like it was a fresh start, that I could start picking myself back up to where I could have my son in my life again. I was very distraught without him. It was just a really, really sad time. So being there was the hope that I needed to have my son in my life every day. So After about a month, we were across the street from a church, and there was someone that brought us to church. She brought all of us, and it was for people that were going through just difficult times. So it was everybody in the violent shelter that got over her. And then there was a service, and at the end of the service, there was a call for anyone with guilt and shame, and I ran down to the altar and gave it all to the Lord and didn't look back. I started going to church every day, and on Wednesdays, Bible study, and was baptized within a month, and it was just such a blessing. I was so very excited. And he reminds me that he was with me in the middle of it. So no matter how dark it was, no matter all the despair that I had, he was right there with me, getting me through the trenches to where it was bearable to wake up in the morning and I didn't have to have a drink of alcohol just to get through the day. I had the Lord there with me, getting me through. And I didn't have to do drugs to get through the day. And I didn't want my son to see me under the influence either. And I definitely didn't want to lose my spot in the violence shelter. So that was just off the table. And starting to go to court, do community service, get a job, get a car, do all the things that I needed to do for me and my family. And church was the way to do it, you know. I had started, but the Lord really showed up using the people at the church that I was going to. They helped me get to treatment. I would pray going, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't have the vehicle that I have, but I don't have a license. I shouldn't be driving, but I don't know another way. So if there's another way, show me. And he did. So I still have friends today from them driving me to treatment, driving me to my job. So that way I wasn't driving illegally and I was following the law. And that was 6 years ago. So some of my closest friends were from that time. Then just the foundation of knowing the Word, knowing God in the Bible study. My closest friend I met at the Wednesday night Bible study, that was actually a family member to my son, and we're still close as ever today because of church and the Lord. And so that was one of my first prayers, was a supportive community of people. So no matter how dark it would get, you'd have the Lord and people, so somebody wouldn't get left behind. And that was one of the first prayers the Lord answers, and he keeps answering. I could give you so many different testimonies of what the Lord has done. He's provided a place for me to live through the church. I tried for about 2 years. I was looking for a place to stay. I stayed in a motel. I stayed with my friend's dad. I stayed in all these places after the violence shelter. I didn't really know much about sober living at that time. So I stayed there, and I was serving at church. I was attending church, and through counsel, they helped me find a spot that was close to them so I could stay in the community and stay with the support system that I had. And it's just been one crazy ride. It really has. I've done so many things. I went to Louisiana on a single mom's week that was blessed to us, and the Lord has provided so many opportunities just to let me know that he cares and that he's here and that he's not going anywhere. And I just am so thankful that I have been given so many wonderful opportunities. I worked at a fast food restaurant from 2019 up until a couple of years ago, until the right place came along. I didn't know much about the recovery industry, I guess, as far as a career would go. Didn't know what that would even look like. I just know that I needed to continue to be consistent at my job to provide. It worked good with my being a single mom, my treatment schedule, and everything that I had. But once I had completed my probation and done my classes, it was time for something new. And through prayer, I had felt the Lord let me know that it was time to leave the fast food industry, and that scared me. I was like, oh no, you're going to have to help me with that. I don't even know what that would look like. And he was kind and he was gracious, and a couple months would go by and he would say that, you need to leave the fast food industry. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Because I was comfortable. But it was time to move on, and he was so gentle and so kind, but consistent, and led me to where I work now. And it was just a whole awesome story that led me to be a receptionist and office manager and work with people that are in recovery. And then the people that I work with are amazing. And we all love the Lord and we all have our story. And so for me, that's another testimony of what the Lord's done in my life. And it also is helpful for my kiddo, to see that there was darkness in our lives, but the Lord has just done so much for not just me, but him too. And so he gets to see the goodness of God in all of the blessings. It's not about a big, grand miracle. It's about the Lord saying, you didn't know before, but now I'm going to show you who I am, and I'm going to take care of you, and you're going to be my daughter, and you're going to be my people. And he has been so consistent on doing that for me. And I forget sometimes, because life throws us so many challenges, but he's the constant in my life. And I don't know where I would be without him. I don't want to think about where I would be without a relationship with the Lord and the people that are in my life. So I give him all the credit, and it's definitely not by my power. So the best thing that I did was to say yes when I was invited to go to the church. I was scared and a little intimidated, but going with someone made it a lot easier. So if I had one suggestion for anyone is to follow the invitation from the Lord. Don't let yourself talk yourself out of it, and just try. And I went to a few other churches before I landed at that one. Not every place is for you to go to. So pray about it, seek and ye shall find me, and get in a Bible study to where it's a small group of people, to where you can be a little vulnerable and lean on each other. Iron sharpens iron, and you will be surprised the arms that will come around you and walk alongside you and embrace you through whatever it is that you're going through. I continuously get blown away by the people that want to just walk alongside me. They don't want to take care of it for me. They don't want to fix me, and they don't reject me. So you can trust the Lord through people, and you can also just pray and ask, ask for that security net, ask for the church. He's faithful to answer if you're willing to seek him and just ask him.